Single dad protected his drunk boss at the bar. The next day, she rewrote his future. Some nights change everything, even when they start like any other tired evening. Sometimes, a single quiet act of kindness, done when no one is watching, becomes the moment that rewrites an entire life. This is one of those stories. Before we begin, if you enjoy real-life inspired stories that warm your heart and remind you of the power of kindness, make sure to subscribe, like this video, and leave a comment. It really helps the channel grow and allows us to share more meaningful stories like this. You're watching Heartfelt Moments, and we're glad you're here. Mark Thompson was used to being invisible. At 36 years old, he was a single dad living in a small apartment outside Columbus, Ohio. His world revolved around early mornings, packed lunches, school drop-offs, and late nights trying to stretch every dollar. After his wife passed away 3 years earlier, life became a constant balancing act between grief, responsibility, and exhaustion. By day, Mark worked as an operations supervisor at a mid-sized marketing firm. It paid the bills, barely. By night, he was a father to his 8-year-old daughter, Lily, whose smile was the one thing that kept him moving forward when everything felt heavy. His boss, Rachel Whitman, was the opposite of invisible. She was the company's CEO, sharp, confident, always in control. Rachel was respected, a little intimidating, and known for her polished professionalism. People admired her success, but few really knew her. Mark had exchanged maybe a dozen words with her in 3 years, most of them polite and work-related. That Friday night, the company held a casual team outing at a downtown bar. Mark almost didn't go. Babysitters were expensive, and he was exhausted. But a coworker convinced him, saying it might help his standing at work. The bar was loud, filled with music, laughter, and clinking glasses. Mark nursed a soda water, checking his phone every few minutes for updates from the neighbor watching Lily. That's when he noticed Rachel. She was sitting alone at the far end of the bar, clearly drunk. Her posture was slouched, her eyes unfocused. This wasn't the confident CEO everyone knew. This was someone vulnerable, struggling to stay upright as a man a few stools away leaned closer than was appropriate. Mark felt uncomfortable watching. He told himself it wasn't his business. After all, she was his boss, powerful and capable. But something didn't sit right. When the man placed a hand on Rachel's arm and whispered something that made her flinch, Mark stood up without thinking. His heart raced as he walked over. "Hey, Rachel," he said calmly, as if this were planned. "There you are. I've been looking for you." Rachel looked up, confused. Mark gently placed himself between her and the man. "She's with me," Mark said firmly, his voice steady. The man scoffed but backed off, muttering under his breath before disappearing into the crowd. Rachel tried to stand and nearly fell. Mark caught her before she hit the floor. "I've got you," he said quietly. "Let's get you home safe." She didn't argue. She just nodded, tears quietly slipping down her face. Mark paid her tab, guided her outside, and called a rideshare. During the ride, Rachel barely spoke. She just stared out the window, embarrassed and exhausted. When they arrived at her apartment building, Mark walked her to the door. She fumbled with her keys, hands shaking. "Thank you," she whispered, not meeting his eyes. "You didn't have to do that." Mark smiled gently. "I hope someone would do the same for my daughter someday." He waited until she was safely inside before leaving. The next morning, Mark woke up early, as usual. He made Lily breakfast, tied her shoes, and walked her to school. He assumed the night before would never be mentioned again. By 10 a.m., he was called into Rachel's office. His stomach dropped. His mind raced. Had he crossed a line? Was he about to lose his job? Rachel stood as he entered. She looked different, no makeup, softer somehow. Her eyes were red, like she hadn't slept. "Mark, please sit," she said. He sat down, gripping his hands together. "I want to talk about last night," she began. Mark nodded. "I'm sorry if..." She raised her hand. No. Don't apologize. There was a long pause. Then her voice cracked. You protected me when I was at my worst, she said. You didn't take advantage of me. You didn't film me. You didn't tell anyone. You just helped. Mark didn't know what to say. Rachel took a deep breath. I built this company by being strong all the time. I forgot what it feels like to be human. Last night reminded me. She opened a folder on her desk and slid it toward him. Inside was a new job offer. A promotion. A significant raise. Flexible hours. Full benefits. And something else, a company-funded college savings plan for Lily. Mark stared at the paper, stunned. I did some digging, Rachel said softly. I learned about your wife. About your daughter. About how hard you work without ever asking for anything. Tears filled Mark's eyes. I'm not doing this out of guilt, she continued. I'm doing it because kindness should be rewarded, and because people like you are the kind of leaders this company needs. Mark's voice trembled. Thank you, was all he could manage. Rachel smiled through her own tears. You didn't just protect me last night, Mark. You reminded me who I want to be. That evening, Mark picked Lily up from school with a lighter heart than he'd felt in years. When she asked why he was smiling so much, he knelt down and hugged her tightly. Because sometimes, he said, being kind changes everything. And it did. Not just for Mark and Lily, but for Rachel too, who later started a company initiative focused on employee well-being and second chances. Because one quiet act of kindness, in a noisy bar, rewrote more than one future. As you go about your day, remember this, you never know who needs your kindness, or how far it might reach. A small moment can become someone else's turning point. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs a reminder that kindness still matters. And until next time, keep spreading light, one heartfelt moment at a time.